Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boardmasters with me, Chris Mullins, joined once again by Chris.
Hello there.
And today we will be reviewing Superclub, the football manager game, which we have played across the last 5 weeks on the channel. So check out the playlist if you want to see the gameplay of it. But as ever, the reviews will have the same 5 categories. So art style, theme, components, accessibility, replayability, and the gameplay. And let's dive in. So what do you think about the art style and the theme of this game, Chris?
The theme of the game totally fits in nostalgically to what I love, football. I think when Chris first showed me Superclub, this was one of the games that really jumped out to me. So the theme is perfect for me. The art style, I do like the art style. I like the colours, the different bright colours representing each team. I like the way how they've sort of like, there's one team called United and
they are blue though.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why they necessarily did that. Would have made more
sense. Just to mess with Man United fans, I hope.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, the art style. There's not a huge amount to say about the art style, I don't think.
It's minimalist and it's colourful.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they could have had player portraits perhaps, but I think that would have been tricky to get right because you wouldn't want them to be too realistic and look like a cropped out picture.
Yeah.
That would be terrible. And then if you're going to animate or draw them, then you're going to be running the risk of picking an art style that people don't like and repelling them.
Yeah.
For very little gain, really. It's not going to make... I mean, I suppose it would help immersion a little bit if you've got...
Yeah, it is quite...
Provided you like the art style that they chose, but...
Yeah, it's quite minimalistic, but then again, like you say, if you go into too much detail, it's probably fine for what it is, I think.
Yeah, it complements the gameplay really well, I think. Cause, all the teams are uniform in their colours, and then the different player positions are colour identified, so it's really easy to know what position each player is and things.
Yeah. And
it definitely complements the gameplay well in terms of the colour scheme they have.
Yeah, I think it having the bright colours, it's very clear. There's not going to be any confusion on which card is your defender and which card is your attacker, etc.
Yeah, I suppose there could be an issue if people are colourblind, perhaps. I don't recall any sort of thing on the cards that will identify the player position other than the colour. I'm struggling to remember now whether it actually says whether they're a defender or a midfielder or attacker on it.
I think it does at the very top, but I may be wrong on that.
Yeah, it's only just popped into my head, so that's why I haven't actually looked to check. But yeah, I mean, as you said, the theme is perfect for us. I mean, it is Football Manager, the board game, and in terms of a gaming series that I've spent more time on than anything else, that would be Football Manager.
Yeah, I think if you played something like a Football Manager or a LMA Manager or something like that, you love this game.
That's what I've got listed here, LMA Manager. I mean, literally thousands of hours, starting from like Premier Manager 96 or something, going through LMA Manager to Championship Manager to Football Manager.
Yeah.
It was my whole growing up experience was football managing games, being through it.
Yeah, I definitely played Football Manager on the PC and loved it back in the day. So I'd say if you love sort of a Football Manager type of game, this would definitely sort of fit the bill.
Definitely. It is absolutely one of my favourite themes so far. But going on to the components, I think this is probably the weakest aspect of the game. Obviously, it's almost entirely card-based, and the cards are decent quality. The folders are really good. I know they had an issue in the campaign that some of the materials they chose initially were transparent under the right light, so people could see their teams, but they fixed that really well. The folders are good. The team boards I have a little issue with. I think they could have been double layered ones, so that when you upgrade your facilities, you put a card there, but as it stands, they just move all over the place. If it was a double layered one, then they would sit in there, that would be really good. And if they had some way of keeping the money organised, that would be really helpful, because at the moment, as with any of these games, when you just have piles of notes on a table, they just get messier and messier as the game goes on.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot to say about the components.
No, not really. As you've highlighted, it's quite minimalistic with the components. I think as we'll go on, I think for the price point, it probably fits.
Yeah, I mean, it's quality of life improvements rather than anything else. There's no... Everything works perfectly. It complements the gameplay. It's just, some quality of life things that would have made it. It's not like Terraforming Mars levels of bad with cubes that are falling all over the place in terms of the player boards. It's literally a couple of cards. It just would have been nice to have something that keeps it in place, I guess. But
I don't know if it would have improved it or not, but maybe instead of having the paper money, to maybe have like plastic or even metal coins, whether that would have made it better, certainly a tidier table, possibly. Yeah,
that could have helped. Yeah, an interesting one. But I think that pretty much covers the components, so they're good. They're not out of this world, but happy with them. In terms of then the accessibility, I knew the postman was going to ring the doorbell. This is Minecraft, the board game. Morning, thank you. Have a good one.
Minecraft is here.
Another one for the collection.
Zatu.
Oh, Zatu. Thank you. Sorry about that, my latest purchase just delivered by the postman, so happy to be interrupted for one of those. But we were just getting into accessibility, so what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I had a quick look on this on the website, and I think the price point, as we hinted before, is good. I can't see, I don't think you can get this on Amazon.
No, I think it is only through their website at the moment.
So it might not necessarily be the easiest to find, although obviously the relevant site is eBay. You can probably pick it up for a decent amount.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the second-hand market, to be fair.
I thought that it was very easy to set up, didn't take a lot of time at all, and I think once you played through once and you've organised it a little bit, the second and third time it'll be so much easier to set up, and the tidy up as well is fairly quick. I didn't think the game was complicated. I thought it was pretty easy to learn. It
flows really nicely, doesn't it? And
yeah,
I really like the fact that on the board they explain every stage. They have it in orders on the board, so it's quite clear what you're doing next, and it makes it really easy to play. I guess the biggest accessibility issues is going to be getting hold of the game, because as we said, it is only available through their website, I believe, at this point. The price point was €69 plus shipping. I'm not sure how much the shipping is. So it's not a cheap game, but it's sort of in that £50-60 price bracket. And because it's only available on their site, I know it's been out of print for, I think, almost a year. I think I got my copy back in September, and that was the initial Kickstarter wave. So they had some stock after that, and then that sold out, I think, in January. So maybe not a year, I think 6 months. Because I think it's the next batch is starting to ship out next week, actually. So I think it's been out of print for about 5 months. So that may be issues going forward. Because it's just through them, they're not going to be printing off huge amounts of stock, I wouldn't imagine. They're going to be satisfying orders and then printing more as to suit the demand, I guess. So it's going to be one that probably, unless you happen to get it while they're doing a print run, you may have to have a bit of a wait for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, setup and teardown time is really quick and easy to learn. It's easy to teach. It's the one game I've done a how to play video on, so it's probably the only game I felt confident enough to teach on the internet, because generally I assume I'm making rule mistakes, but that's almost impossible on this, I think.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with this game. There's not really any little rules or things you could, like with Too Many Bones, there's a lot of things that, little things that can change in the game that you miss, maybe a rule. With this, you can't really go wrong, as I say. And what I like about this as well is the fact that it seems to have started to go into sort of like a club football as well.
Yes.
There's an Arsenal squad.
An officially licensed Arsenal expansion, isn't it? So it has the first team. I think it has some youth players for the developing players, and has the. I think one thing I know with the stadiums of the Arsenal one, I think it actually goes from like Highbury and to the Emirates. So I think it actually goes to the historical stadiums as you upgrade.
Yeah.
So like I think Highbury is level 3 and then the Emirates is level 4, which is a really nice touch. Just a shame that it's Arsenal, really, because
be nice to see some. I mean, if they released a United one or a Liverpool one, no doubt Chris might look at that.
Not the United one,
but certainly the Liverpool one.
Unless I was buying it to burn it, maybe. You'd have to buy that and bring it yourself and keep it safe. But I mean, if they are able to get more licenses, I imagine it's going to be a cost issue, which is maybe why they've started with Arsenal, because I would think they're probably cheaper than they're at that sort of good level for a first one, because they're high profile enough and popular enough with a big fan base, but because they're not particularly successful at the moment, the license is probably cheaper than a Liverpool or a Man United or a Real Madrid, for example. So in terms of testing the waters, it's probably a good starting point.
Unless they just literally start at the beginning of the alphabet and approach
well, they could have done that. So hopefully that expands going forward. And then moving on to replayability, which I think, it's something that comes up every review I do. If you like the core game, you can play this forever, I think, pretty much.
I think so, because as with all games, there's elements of luck in it, and the initial the draw phase of what you're going to get is going to alternate every single time, and how you factor your teams as well. You can, on that initial draw, you can decide to go heavy on one area, depending on how you foresee your starting lineup to be. And
the changes in terms of how you approach the game can be different each time, because like in the playthrough, for example, my initial squad, I had no players that had potential. They were all fully developed, so I think it was the first time I hadn't upgraded my training pitch initially, because there was just no point, because I had no one to train. So it definitely changes your strategies, and just the very random nature of what players come out, the luck of the dice rolling, as you said. Every game is going to be different, but essentially the same.
Yeah.
Which is the sort of standard thing with board games, unless you're bringing in expansions or modules that change up the core gameplay. It's always going to be the same, but it's going to feel different depending what players come out and how many your player count. But I think it's good. I think it is very strong. I would happily play this week after week, I think.
Yeah, I think it stacks very strongly in replayability.
Yeah. But it might be a category I have to drop at some point, because I say the same thing every review.
I think, all the good games are going to be designed so they're going to have a great replayability factor.
Yeah. So quickly moving on to the gameplay. How do you feel on that one?
Yeah, really love the gameplay. I mean, we've only played it as a 2-player. I think it possibly would be better as a 4-player game, I feel.
Up to 6 with the expansion.
Because it would just have to have the extra players, to not have to sim so many games.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I think simming, you'd literally just roll a dice to resolve a match, and that's it. And there's no penalties for getting doubles or whatnot. There's no injuries, no game changers.
Yeah.
So with this sort of game, you want to be playing matches against other people, I think. So the more people you have around the table, the more proper games you're playing, the more fun it's going to be. Obviously, that can potentially add to the downtime, I guess, particularly if you're playing like a 3-player game and you're having to wait a couple of goes until it's your match. But I suppose with higher player counts, you can just play games simultaneously. You don't even have to like stand on ceremony and watch player 1 versus player 2. You can just get on with player 3 versus player 4. So it may not add to the downtime that much. I'm just sort of speculating because, as you said, we have only played at 2-player. But it definitely feels like a game that's going to get better the more players you have around the table. You'll burn through the player database quicker because we played 3 games at 2 players and we haven't seen Garibaldi yet, even though that's
rather disappointing.
Yeah, because I think those 3 games covered something like 13 seasons worth, and we still never got the big golden Garibaldi out. But if you're playing with more players, you're going to have more scouting going on, more deadline day options. More auctions are always fun. That was some of the most fun bits, I think, with the auctions. So if you've got 4 people outbidding each other and you've got 5 players coming to deadline day, so you've got to really pick your battles a bit more.
Yeah.
It's just going to add more to the interaction, the strategic elements.
More strategy involved, having more players.
Yeah.
And I think the game will probably be quicker as well with more players because, like you say, you're going through these cards so much faster. I think a game would be a lot quicker with 4 players, personally.
I don't know. It can vary. I mean, the draft obviously is going to take longer because you're going to be filling up the board 4 times, and the on-season's going to take longer. But I think there's going to be more decisions to make, more strategy, and that even the in-game strategy is like, do you go for 3 balanced sections to try and or do you go all in and say, right, I'm going to focus everything on 2 of my thirds because I only need to win 2 to win the game.
There is that, yeah.
But if I get a bad dice roll on one of my good thirds that causes me to lose, then I'm going to lose the match because my last third is worthless.
Yeah.
And it's that nice sort of risk element, risk versus reward. Do you do that, or do you go balanced, knowing that a good dice roll, you've got the potential to win any third?
Yeah, and I think having the sort of utility players that can go in any position really helps as well.
Yeah,
definitely. Because then that gives you the option to sort of like strengthen one area necessarily that is weak, give you a bit of cover there, or you could just put those utility players all in to one area to guarantee you a victory, like Chris said.
Yeah, and then you've got chemistry aspects, which, you know, if you've got a 2-star player with 2 elements of chemistry, he's going to be better in your team than a 3-star with no chemistry. Yeah. As long as you can feed off that, I think. Well, I'm not sure if it was the season we recorded, but I think there was one season we played where I had chemistry across every single space in midfield, and it obviously added like 4 extra stars on top of it, which is massive in this game. There's the decisions: what do you upgrade at what point? Do you focus on scouting? Do you focus on training? Do you focus on players that, instead of getting a 4-star player, do you get a 2-star player with the potential for 5 and upgrade your training, knowing that you're investing in the future? Yeah. There's huge amounts of this. Do you go for the key staff? Which key staff do you go for? Because you can only have 3. You want to maximise those bonuses and
boost your attack strengths or defence strengths,
or ones that give you an automatic 3-star if you get a player with potential, or ones that you are counted a league above at the end of the season for when you're doing your prize money, so you get an extra 20 million, for example. There's a huge amount going on. Then you've got injuries, which can absolutely decimate you if you roll a couple of doubles in the first game of the season, and then you've lost your 2-star players, and you have to muddle through that season, much like Liverpool did this season. Obviously, like Van Dijk being out, it's crippling. Literally, I mean, no pun intended, I guess, crippling. There's a lot of big decisions to make, which way to go, and
money is very important because obviously you want to keep some money back for the bidding war, so to speak.
Well, that's the risk. Do you? I mean, would you rather spend all your money getting all your facilities top notch as soon as you can, and just say, right, you lot fight it out deadline day. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to get far more prize money, and then I'm going to upgrade my scouting, so I'm going to get access to cheaper players.
Yeah.
I
think that initial draw, the draw phase really can dictate which way you're going to go.
Yeah.
Because if you got like higher level players with more stars, then you probably would more focus on your scouting and your training facilities. Whereby if you got like lower players, just 1 stars on the draw, it was a bad draw, you then would want to get the better players, obviously. So
yeah, there's always decisions, and they do matter. It's fun. I was concerned that it would be a game where one person would get ahead and it would be almost impossible to catch them. And our first game went like that. I think I won after 3 seasons. I won the Superclub. I won the Super Cup final after 3 seasons, and it was hard. But after that, I think all our games were I'd win a season, you'd win a season, and it would sort of yo-yo around and go. Or then I would get 3, and then I'd lose the Super Cup final, and then have to try and get 3 more or get to 100. And that's a risk fee reward thing. Even if you are getting ahead, if you win the first 3, do you go straight to the cup final? And then if you lose all 3 and have to start again, and opening it up for other people to catch up.
Yeah, it's a big risk that, because you do, like Chris said, lose all 3 cards, so you're basically back to square one.
Yeah.
If you don't see, really, you need to make sure you have a strong squad before you attempt that, I would suggest.
Yeah, unless you get very lucky with the draw and get, I don't know, a Mexico City or a New York United or whatever they're called, in which case you can still quite easily lose them with the roll of the dice. But I think that's everything that we've got to say on Superclub. I don't know if there's anything else.
I think so, yeah. I can't think of anything else to add on the gameplay front.
Okay. So nothing left to do then but give the scores. So what are you going to give this, Chris?
I am going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Purely based on the theme, the football theme. Obviously I love football. Big into the Euros at the moment.
But it'll be finished by the time this goes up.
Probably, yeah.
It'll be 6 weeks, won't it? So yeah, it'll be.
But yeah, I love the gameplay aspect. I love the way you can build your team, you can manage your team, rotate the squad. I love the tactical emphasis on the game as well, which direction you want to go. I probably would give it a bit higher, maybe up to a 9, maybe even a 9.5 with more players. I'd have to see how that would play out, so to speak, to know what to give it. But I think I would give it a higher score with the more players playing. So that's why I'm going an 8.5 rather than a 9. But yeah, I love the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and forth on this one. Sometimes I think I want to give it a 9, sometimes I want to give it an 8. I think the component quality damages it a little. That could be better. It doesn't damage it, but it could be better. But that's really the only negative. I mean, I think it definitely would be a better game with more players. So I'm going to give it the same as you. I'm going to go with an 8.5, but that is strictly on a 2-player game with scope to improve going with more players you've got. And I imagine it would probably improve with expansions and things down the line as well. So yeah, it's a very tentative score. It's 8.5 with the potential to go anywhere up to 10, I think, depending on how it plays at higher player count.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, same for me as well.
Okay, well, that is Superclub, the football manager game. That is our review on that. So let us know down below if you agree or not, and if you're looking to get the game. Tell us some stories about how your seasons went, because I certainly love talking about that sort of thing. Any big shock results you pull off or anything, it's all part of the love of football, isn't it? So
yeah, totally.
But we'll leave it there. So thank you very much for watching. Look after yourself, stay safe, and have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.